Hello and welcome to our channel. Please relax and enjoy.
I met my wife Sarah about 15 years ago on Facebook. Back then I was a young and vibrant guy with no care in the world, just getting into college. My aim then while going to college was to have as much fun as I called and never get tied down by any chick. You see, all through high school, I had struggled with my self-confidence, I struggled with my looks, and approaching girls was very hard for me. The few times I tried to approach any lady I liked, I was met with a death stare from the girl that sent shivers down my spine. I was so confused and lost. I had surging hormones and so many feelings, but I felt like an outcast because of the way I looked. My friends would even tease me that I looked like a freaking dork. It didn't help that my parents and I are Caribbean immigrants. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, but my dad had moved to the US for a better life when I was born, and by the time I was in elementary school, Dad returned and took our entire nuclear family to the US. I remember feeling so happy because of all the stories I had heard about America. I had heard from my aunties and uncles, and the little info I had gotten from watching American shows on TV gave me a perspective I thought I was going to have when I got there. Everyone looked happy and smiling always. Their skin looked fresher than ours, and they looked richer. The women also seemed prettier, or at least that was what my distant relative who had been deported used to say when he came to our house and got drunk on a few strong bottles of beer. It was a different ball game coming over to the US. People seemed colder, and we would take the school bus or our parents would pick us up rather than going to a school that was close by and we could walk to like we did back home. The culture shock I faced was minute compared to the bullying I dealt with while in middle school and occasionally in high school. Being a wimpy kid was a curse. Being a wimpy black kid from the Caribbean was even worse. I was called all sorts of names including monkey, baboon, etc., but I was too afraid to fight back. That was what led me to learn boxing and get into weightlifting by the time I was in high school. By the time I was in senior year, I had stumbled upon a few videos where you could learn how to use the gym to work out and become fit. This was a turning point in my life. In fact, I would say this changed my life forever. First of all, just going into the gym and seeing the gym brothers looking pumped and pumping iron gave me drive and made me feel like I could achieve anything I wanted to. I guess the saying that when you are surrounded by successful people you are a step in the right direction is true. I worked out like never and I got good results. My plans worked and girls started noticing me. Little by little, I started having attractive women to go on dates with. I got into college and I planned to keep at it and have fun, but that was when I met my wife. I had posted a funny video on Facebook and my wife's best friend who was following me saw the video, thought it was funny, and showed it to her friend, Sarah, that's my wife now. My wife not only watched the hilarious video, but she ended up checking my picture albums on Facebook and sent me a message because she thought I was cute. I replied and we started chatting. It turned out that we attended the same college where I studied chemistry and she was studying psychology. I asked her out and we went on our first date. We clicked immediately as we had the same taste in music and enjoyed the same types of literature. It was fun dating Sarah because she is a beautiful woman. Everywhere we went, people stopped and stared. Even my old friends from high school congratulated me for getting such a hot girl to show interest in me. All that was needed was for me to be done with school and make good money. We waxed strong and our relationship was the envy of others. We rarely spoke ill of each other to one another or other people. We had the same hobbies and gladly partook in the ones that the other liked, which one of us didn't like. I met her family during the holiday in our 4th year and she met my family too. Our families were pleased. Things started to change little by little after we had spent 6 years together. The major issues we faced were on our disagreements around our different ideologies on marriage. Sarah, my girlfriend at that time, was pro-marriage and I was against marriage. Sarah wanted to get married by any means. She was desperate to sign those dotted papers. On the other hand, I've never believed that marriage is necessary when two people are in love. I believe it only puts you in more trouble which you cannot get out of easily. Initially, Sarah said she didn't want to get married too. She said she did not want to be tied down by marriage or kids because if there was a separation, she dreaded the lengthy court process of divorce. All of a sudden, she started watching some videos on YouTube talking about hypergamy and how women should not let men waste their time. It was this lady who told young ladies to make sure the man they are with signs the divorce papers as proof of his love. Sarah started mounting pressure on me after that. Initially, she started talking to me subtly, and when it seemed like I was not paying any attention, she became more direct and told me she felt like her biological clock was ticking. I reminded her that we talked about not having kids and getting married when we started dating, and I was very clear about my decisions not to give birth, and she also gave me reasons she didn't want a family. She told me she loved me dearly and that we would make a great child-free couple. I reminded her that I told her that at times, because it would be evil of me to lead her on when I had no intention of ever putting a ring on it. Honestly, I was always scared of marriage and what it did to men and their properties. I saw men lose everything they owned once their wife said she didn't want marriage anymore or she wasn't in love anymore. That was just such a silly excuse to destroy a man's life completely. Then the manipulation started. She started breaking up with me almost every month. She would get angry and break up with me for the flimsiest reasons. We started fighting all the time and little things triggered her anger. I think she was trying to make guilt trip me now that I think of it. Then she told me that she didn't love me anymore and she said we should just see us being together. She told me if I truly loved her, I would put a ring on her finger. We managed to patch things up for a few months and things will go back to being normal, then the chaos will set in again. We continued like this on and off until we had dated for 8 years. Her erratic behavior was on and off for 2 years. I finally bit the bullet and put an end to the relationship. I was exhausted already. I wanted her to go find happiness somewhere else. The only problem was that when we broke up, she had nowhere else to go. I paid the rent. She had not paid for or contributed towards rent in years. I did not mind, to be honest. Now, we had broken up, but she had to stay in the same house with me. We ended up doing what many folks do in times like this. We stayed in the same house, but slept and had different bedrooms. At this point of our breakup, she still tried to win me back by making many sexual advances, but I rejected all and decided to respect myself and respect her boundaries. I kept her in the friend zone and denied her the intimacy she craved so badly. A month into our separation, she told me she is 6 weeks pregnant. Of course, that means she got pregnant 2 weeks before we stopped getting intimate. I told her she and the baby had my full support. I told her if she needed anything in terms of financial support or moral support, I would be there for her. She could count on me even though I didn't want to be her boyfriend anymore. Being a baby daddy wasn't such a bad idea since we already took all the precautions not to get pregnant, but still ended up with a bun in the oven. She demanded that we get back together, and she said the baby does not deserve to grow up in a single-parent home when it has 2 young parents. She said our baby deserves parents who are not only together, but married to each other. We argued over this. I really didn't want to get back with her because we had a child. I wanted us to get back together only if it happened organically. Within a week, though, she had a miscarriage due to what's called an ectopic pregnancy. An ectopic pregnancy is a situation where the baby never made it out of the fallopian tube and into the womb. She decided to move out of the house after the miscarriage. The move happened about 4 months after she lost the baby. She goes off with her friend to live on the other side of town. We still kept communicating, and she told me she had started dating a new guy whom she said the guy is a South African national. I didn't expect her to move on so soon, and I have to be honest, when she told me she was in a relationship with someone else, I felt hurt. It was as if she had betrayed me. I realized I was still in love with her, but it was too late because I had started dating a new lady. I had started talking to a nurse who I met on Tinder. My relationship with the nurse was going smoothly until she started pressing for a proper relationship just 1 month into knowing each other. Honestly, I really liked the nurse, but after coming out of a chaotic 8-year relationship, there was no way I was going to date someone so soon. I wanted a fling and a relationship with no commitment. I told her I really didn't want to be committed to anyone, and she got hurt and started crying. I told her I didn't want to waste her time, so she better move on to a more serious man. I know it was messy and seemed harsh, but no one owes anyone anything because people get entitled really quickly. Fast forward a few months later, Sarah moves out of the house she shared with her friend and moves into a 1-bedroom apartment around where I lived. It was just an hour's drive to get there from my house. We begin to talk again. We start patching things up little by little and going out on dates every weekend. I was tired of fighting, and besides that, our relationship was once close to perfect. Why will I not want it back? Eventually, we patched it up. I think finding out I was going to be a dad, losing the child, and then losing the love of my life created a vacuum in my life. I changed my mind about marriage now. Before, I hated the thought of committing to one for life, but now, I wanted Sarah to be my wife. I realized how much I loved Sarah. Also, I realized how much I lacked stability in life. I wanted stability, and I realized it was better to do these things with the woman I've been with for over 8 years than with anyone else. I love the idea of being a dad, I love the idea of being a husband, and I love the idea of having a family with Sarah. We patched things up completely and agreed we were going to get married and have at least one child within the next 24 months. We agreed that she would stay in her new 1-bedroom apartment until the lease expired. After the expiration of the lease, she was free to move back into our home. The lease would take 3 months to expire, and that's when she's free to move back. Over the next month, she started acting strange. She started getting harder and harder to get a hold of over the phone. Whenever I was able to speak to her, she will make excuses as to why she couldn't pick up her calls. Whenever asked her if anything was going on, she would tell me that nothing was happening. I kept noticing subtle changes in her. She would come home and take a shower immediately, and this was something she never did before. When she kissed me, it was a little different. I was so sure that something was going on. She adamantly denied that something was going on. Then one afternoon we were in the sheets when she said something that sent shivers around my body. We were making love when she blurted out, "Oh, you feel nice." The way she said it was similar to when you acquire a sports car for a 2-week holiday. And you enjoy it for that moment, return home, and climb back into your Camry. That exact feeling of disappointment. I pushed further and forced a confession out of her. She was seeing a clown. I'm not joking, yes, she has been seeing an actual circus clown. He performs as a circus clown in the Brazilian circus. They have been camped on the coast for 2 months, and she's been banging him in his caravan at the showgrounds for most of that time. She told me she lied to me about the South African guy. She also said she was jealous when I told her I was seeing the nurse. She was too ashamed to tell me she was actually seeing a circus clown. Before anyone thinks, "Oh, yeah, well, he's a Brazilian guy, he's probably hotter than you," understand that I'm from the Caribbean. I'm black, yes, but I'm ripped, I work out, have my own place, and live well. Why will my woman move on with a clown after dating me for years? I looked at the picture she showed me of the clown, and he looked awful. She couldn't even pick a better looking man, for goodness sake. Anyway, we've been trying to work it out since this revelation. Since she slept with the guy after we separated, I don't want to use that against her. Even though she was sneaky a month after we got back together, I feel she just wanted to hurt me for hurting her with the nurse, and all that happened in the past will remain there. I still want a family with her. I'm afraid to start all over again. The problem is I don't know if I will ever be happy again. I keep thinking about the fact that you confessed that she slept with him 15 times. This was not just a one-night stand, she was fully into this guy. She called me insecure for being uncomfortable when she told me she slept with him 15 times and that she was only there for the ego boost and that he means nothing to her. I choose to believe her, but I want to know, am I doing the right thing or making the right decisions?